Beloved soul, take just a moment right now. Breathe slowly and settle into this space, because what is being placed before your eyes in this moment was not brought to you by chance. Heaven itself has guided your steps to this message at this exact point in your life. Something is shifting around you right now. It may feel quiet on the surface and almost invisible to your natural eyes, but the angels are declaring clearly that what is unfolding beneath the surface of your situation carries far more power than anything you are currently able to see with your own understanding. If you want the full truth about what happens when you stop chasing, hit like right now. You did not fight or beg. You did not send one final message trying to explain yourself or justify where you stood. You simply stopped. You stopped chasing and stopped directing your energy towards someone who had grown completely comfortable receiving it without giving it back in equal measure. And beloved, in that single, quiet and courageous decision, something ancient and deeply divine was set into motion that you may not yet fully understand. The person who once felt entirely certain of your presence is now standing inside an unfamiliar silence they were not prepared for. The warmth you extended so freely, the attention you gave so consistently day after day, and the emotional availability you offered without reservation, all of it has been withdrawn. And they can feel that withdrawal, not as argument or confrontation or drama, but as absence. Absence, beloved, carries a kind of spiritual and emotional power that words could never replicate or produce. Right now, whether you can fully see it or not, they are thinking deeply. They are questioning and feeling things they never anticipated feeling, because for the very first time, they are encountering you without your effort holding everything together between you. And that changes everything about the dynamic that existed. When you stop chasing someone, the shift that occurs is not loud or dramatic, but it is profoundly real on both a spiritual and psychological level. Before this moment, the connection between you was being sustained almost entirely by your effort, your messages, your emotional availability, and your consistent showing up. All of that energy was flowing steadily toward them, creating a kind of one-sided momentum that kept everything moving forward. That momentum placed them in a position of spiritual and emotional comfort that they never had to examine or question. They did not have to make clear decisions about what they truly wanted. They did not have to examine their own feelings with real honesty or fully confront what they genuinely desired from the connection, because your energy was filling every gap and answering every question before it could even fully form inside them. God designed the human heart to seek, to pursue, and to make genuine choices. But when one person is doing all the seeking and all the pursuing on behalf of both, the other person is robbed of the very process that produces authentic and lasting commitment. They were existing within the connection without contributing equally, and a connection that only one person is truly sustaining is not covenant. It is convenience. The moment you stopped, that entire structure began to give way. Not because you created drama or forced confrontation, but because you withdrew the force that had been holding an imbalance in place that was never meant to be permanent. What once felt stable and certain to them now feels uncertain and unfamiliar. And the human spirit, just as God designed it, is fundamentally uncomfortable with uncertainty when something meaningful appears to be a genuine risk. Proverbs 4:23 tells us that above all else, we are to guard our hearts, because everything we do flows from that place within us. Beloved, when you stopped chasing, you began guarding your heart. And in doing so, heaven began doing what only heaven is capable of doing. It began revealing truth. The truth is, before your silence, their attention was entirely passive. They received your energy without ever feeling the need to give back, fully confident that your effort would always bridge the distance between you. Your predictability had become their comfort zone, a constant they never had to question. But now your absence has made their attention active, and for the very first time they are noticing the void. This is not a coincidence, beloved. it is by divine design. The human mind naturally normalizes what is always available, but it is startled awake the moment that presence is withdrawn. Your silence has interrupted their expectations, leaving a gap where quiet questions are beginning to form. They are reanalyzing past conversations and wondering if something has shifted as God uses this disrupted certainty to awaken a spirit that complacency had put to sleep. 1 Corinthians 14:33 reminds us that God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. The confusion they now feel was authored by the imbalance they allowed to exist. Because by chasing them, you carried a weight that was never yours to bear. Now your stillness has made that imbalance undeniable, and the connection suddenly demands an investment and initiative from them that feels incredibly uncomfortable. Your attention was a mirror, reflecting their significance without them having to earn it. Now that the mirror is gone, they must face the reality of what they took for granted. As Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord." Your step towards stillness was ordered by God to finally reveal the truth. Heaven is using your decision to stop chasing to bring about several powerful spiritual revelations, beginning with the exposure of imbalance. When you were giving everything, the unequal nature of the connection was hidden under your effort. But now, the truth is laid bare. They are forced to see how little they contributed, how often you reached out, and how much emotional labor you carried alone, producing an honesty that is necessary for genuine healing. Furthermore, this silence forces stillness where emotions rise more clearly, pushing them to sit with their own thoughts and confront what they truly feel about you. Finally, this creates the ultimate test of initiative. The responsibility to move the connection forward now rests entirely on them, and their choice will reveal their true character. Because someone who genuinely values you will not allow the silence to remain permanent. The next way is through the revealing of emotional and spiritual maturity. Not everyone responds to absence in the same way, and the way a person responds to your silence reveals the true depth of their emotional and spiritual maturity in a way that nothing else quite can. A person who is genuinely capable of real covenant love will not react defensively to your withdrawal. They will sit with the discomfort it creates. They will examine their own behavior with honesty rather than retreating into pride. They will ask difficult questions of themselves and resist the urge to look away from the answers. But a person who is not yet emotionally mature will resist this process entirely. They may pull further away to protect their pride. They may convince themselves that the connection was never as significant as it felt when you were fully present. They may wait passively for you to return to old patterns, rather than rising to meet the moment with courage. Their response, beloved, is one of the clearest signs heaven will send you about whether this person is truly ready for the kind of love God is calling you toward in this season of your life. The next way is through the revealing of genuine feelings. Your consistent presence may have been sustaining emotions in them that were partly kept alive by your energy and effort, rather than by genuine and independent depth of feeling. But your absence removes that external input entirely. And what remains is the honest truth of what they feel about you, independent of anything you are doing or not doing. If their feelings for you are genuinely real, the absence of your presence will cause those feelings to intensify. They will begin to miss you, not as a comforting habit or familiar convenience, but as a specific and irreplaceable person. They will recognize what your presence truly meant in ways they never paused to understand before. But if their feelings were shallow, if they were sustained more by ease than by depth, that truth also becomes apparent through the silence. And either outcome, beloved, is a gift. Because truth, even when difficult, is always better than a comforting illusion that keeps you stuck where you were never meant to remain. The next way is through the activation of spiritual clarity within you. Beloved, this is something the angels want you to hold closely to your spirit. The silence you have chosen is not only working on them, it is also working within you in equal measure. It is creating space for God to speak directly to your spirit without the constant noise of emotional striving and overthinking that once filled that space. When you stop pouring energy outward towards someone who is not meeting you, that energy begins returning to you. And God uses that returned energy to heal what has been depleted, to sharpen your discernment, and to prepare your heart for what is truly coming. Isaiah 30:15 tells us that in returning and rest is our salvation, and in quietness and trust is our strength. Your silence is your strength, beloved. It always has been, even in the moments it felt difficult to hold. The seventh way is through the removal of what is not covenant. If this person is not truly meant for you, if this connection is not ordained by God as a genuine covenant between two lives, then your silence will make that truth undeniable in its own natural way. Not through argument, not through confrontation, and not through emotional pain, but through quiet and natural revelation that unfolds over time. What is not meant to remain will slowly fall away under the honest weight of your withdrawal. It does not need force, it does not need chasing, it simply loses its hold when you stop feeding it with your attention and energy. And a door that closes, beloved, is never God's punishment for something you did wrong or failed to do correctly. It is always God's protection over what is ahead of you, even when you cannot yet see it clearly. What leaves your life to create space for something greater is not a loss in the way we often interpret it. It is preparation. It is alignment. It is making room for the real thing that is still on its way toward you. When your energy shifts and the pursuit ends, the person on the other side enters a season of emotional and spiritual unsettledness, even if they continue to appear calm and composed on the outside for the world around them. And what needs to be understood here is that this unsettledness is not random. It is a response to the shift in spiritual balance between you. And once that dynamic changes, something inside them begins to stir in ways they did not expect or prepare for. The first reaction is rarely clear or direct. Instead, it shows up as confusion mixed with curiosity and a quiet anxiety that builds underneath their normal daily life without them fully realizing it at first. Confusion is usually where it begins. They had become used to a certain emotional and spiritual rhythm between you, a kind of steady flow where your energy was consistently present and consistently moving toward them. That rhythm created a hidden sense of stability inside them, even if they were not fully aware of it or consciously appreciating it. When that stability suddenly disappears, their inner world struggles to settle back into balance. They begin asking questions repeatedly, trying to make sense of what changed. Why did this shift happen? What caused it? Did they do something wrong? Did you change? Or did something change within themselves? These questions keep looping in their mind without giving them a final answer, and that circular thinking creates discomfort that is hard to ignore or dismiss. What happens next, after silence has settled and reflection begins to take root, is not determined only by external circumstances. It is determined by the inner condition of the person now facing that silence. Your absence creates space, but what grows inside that space depends entirely on their emotional and spiritual maturity and how willing they are to face themselves honestly. A person with emotional and spiritual maturity does not react impulsively to the discomfort that your absence creates. Instead, they pause, they reflect, and they look inward rather than outward for immediate answers. They become curious not only about you, but about themselves, their choices, their actions, and their patterns within the connection. When they feel the weight of the shift, they do not rush to protect their ego or assign blame elsewhere. Instead, they begin to examine their own role in what unfolded. How much did they truly contribute? How honestly did they communicate what they felt? How clearly did they express what mattered to them when they had the chance? This kind of reflection brings a quiet form of accountability that they may not have carried before in such a direct way. And from that place of self-awareness, their response becomes more grounded and intentional. If they truly value what existed between you, they will move toward it again, but not from impulse and not from panic, rather from clarity and understanding. After you have prayed and surrendered the outcome to God, there is something important to understand that many people overlook in silence. After you stop chasing, after you step back, after you fully trust God with the outcome, many people expect everything to resolve quickly, as if clarity should appear immediately and every answer should arrive at once. But beloved, that is not how divine timing works. God works in seasons, and each season has its own purpose and depth. Just as a seed placed into the ground does not become a full tree overnight, your covenant clarity is being formed gradually, with care, with intention, and in a timing that only heaven fully understands. Do not mistake a quiet season for an empty one. Quiet does not mean nothing is happening. It often means something is being shaped beyond what you can currently see. Even when you cannot see visible change, God is still working within the situation. He is working in what is around you, stirring, revealing, and gently confronting what has been avoided. He is also working within you, healing, strengthening, and preparing your spirit so that when what is meant for you arrives, you are not emotionally depleted or spiritually distracted. He is also working in the atmosphere surrounding everything involved in this situation, removing what is not aligned with your destiny and positioning what is aligned with it. Every step is being ordered according to a timing and structure that is not rushed and not chaotic, but perfectly arranged in a divine way. Share this with someone who is still chasing and needs this message. Habakkuk 2:3 reminds us that the vision is for an appointed time. Even if it seems delayed from a human perspective, we are called to wait for it because it will surely come at the right time. What God has prepared for your life is already written and already appointed, and it will not arrive too early or too late. It will come exactly when it is meant to come. But hear this clearly and let it settle deeply within you. It will not be late. Trust the timing of heaven even when it feels slow to your human emotions, even when silence stretches longer than expected, and even when your mind tries to push you into reaching out again just to reduce uncertainty. In those moments, return to what Proverbs 3:5-6 teaches. Trust in the Lord with your whole heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. That promise is not just for another time, it is for this very season you are in right now, even within this silence. Beloved, there is something deeper that many people quietly struggle with, and it is one of the main reasons they return to chasing even when they already feel they should stop. It is the fear of being alone. The fear that if this specific connection does not work out, there will be nothing else. That this was their only chance, their only possibility, their only hope. And when those thoughts come in the quiet moments, they feel very real. They create pressure, urgency, and emotional attachment to something that may not even be aligned with their destiny. But hear this clearly, those thoughts are not coming from heaven. They are rooted in fear and limitation, not in truth or divine promise. They are whispers meant to keep you small, afraid, and settled for less than what has already been prepared for you. Like this message, reflect on which part spoke to you most, and remember that fear is not your guide. John 10:10 tells us that the enemy comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. And one of the things it targets most is your confidence in what God has promised you. Zephaniah 3:17 speaks directly into loneliness and fear, reminding you that the Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He takes delight in you, and he rejoices over you with gladness.